Welcome. How's everybody doing? Hope you are doing well. My name is Andrew Kuhn. Not on the Focus Compound podcast, not on a video just with myself. This is the weekly rundown. This is going to be a new segment that we are trying out. I am with my good friend, Vetle Forslad, all the way from Norway right now. Thank God we have technology, Vetle. How are you doing today?
It's incredible. I'm all right. I'm good. I've been better, but it's all right. It's going good.
What time is it right now?
It's 9:20 p.m. I just got back from the beach, actually. It's still sunny. It's still very nice. We finally got some sun. So I'm good.
Nice.
I'm good.
Yeah. Did you wear sunscreen? Your face is looking a little red. Did you get some good sun today?
No, that's just my skin color.
That's just your skin color. Got it. Well,
yeah,
it is 2:20 p.m. here in Dallas, Texas, and it is hot. It is hot out. It's getting hot, but it's great. So maybe give a little bit of a background of yourself. So the way I envision this, we could do these recaps maybe once a week. Maybe we'll start to do it more often, but there's just such a news flow and everything going on in the world. I just thought it would be fun to chat and getting your background, or from your background and your perspective. I think it would be, a good value add for everybody, but really quick, just tell me a little bit about yourself so people that aren't familiar with you could just know who Vetle is.
Yeah. All right. Well, I am a Norwegian. Right now I'm working as a journalist, as a financial journalist. And I've also been investing in the stock market for about 9 years now. And I'm a financial student. I go to college here in Norway. So I would say that I have a fair amount of experience from the financial world. I've been an intern at a hedge fund for about 6 months. I worked as a financial journalist for about 2 years. And these days I'm just studying economics and finance, and I'm staying updated to the stock market and investing. And I've been tweeting for a couple of years now, or at least a solid year, mostly about the stock market, about investing, and just the best game in the world, to be honest with you.
And you interned at a fund in San Francisco, correct?
Yeah, I did. I think I have a San Francisco picture behind me.
Nice. Is that your dorm room right there?
No, I'm actually, I heard that Bill Ackman was living with his parents on the podcast, so I had to do it as well.
Yeah. Did you like that podcast? I thought it was really good.
I thought it was great. I love the episode. Yeah, I actually had a Twitter thread about it. I just summarized what he talked about. I saw a lot of hate about it on Twitter, but I just think it's fashionable these days to hate on Bill Ackman for some reason. I don't know why, but I liked it a lot.
I mean, did you think, and this isn't even part of the topic, but hey, I mean, there's no agenda. We could talk about whatever we want to talk about.
Yeah, we could talk about whatever.
Did you think, so he came out on CNBC. He's a very passionate individual. He wears his emotion on his sleeve. No worries, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. And then there was a lot of people that were taking digs at him for going on CNBC, and they thought he was scaring the market to cover blah, blah, blah. I mean, if you listen to that interview that he did, that wasn't my impression at all. I know a lot of people like to complain just to complain about stuff, it's good, clickbait, whatever. But I was surprised to see, I was like, wow, there's a lot of people that are like hating on him right now.
Yeah.
And I was surprised to see it.
Yeah. My impression was definitely that he was relatively bearish. I mean, I think he said like hell is coming. And he was like almost, on the verge of tears when he was talking to CNBC. So, I mean, he was definitely, I don't think he was actively trying to talk the markets down, but he was really bearish on that interview. But like, I don't really have an issue with that, because every single investor that comes on CNBC they have an agenda. Like, if you invite the CEO of a company to CNBC, he is going to talk positively about the company, obviously. And if you invite the fund manager to CNBC, if he is long, he's gonna talk about how bullish he is on the stock market, because he is bullish on the stock market. Bill Ackman, I guess, was kind of bearish. But another thing to your point is that while he talked this book, I mean, it was short. He did buy those. He did buy that hedge like several weeks before he came on the podcast, and I think he was already trying to unload those hedges as he was talking on CNBC. So I kind of understand why people are kind of mad at him for trying to, talking bearishly about the markets while he was buying stocks like the very next day. But people try to pump the markets every single day on the same news channel. So
yeah,
I don't really see the problem.
yeah. Well, anyway, in any event, I thought it was a great
Yeah.
podcast. I thought Shane did a
Oh,
great
yeah.
job, and I kind of joked. I was like, it's nice to hear that Bill's human and also enjoys binge watching Netflix at nighttime and hanging out.
I know. I
Cool.
actually started watching the show that he talked about on his podcast, not because of him, but because some friends recommended it. Unorthodox. So I've seen the first couple of episodes. It's actually it's a decent show. It's a good show.
Yeah, I watched like 20 minutes of it and I turned it off. So
stop watching too serious.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you follow U.S. sports at all?
U.S. sports? No.
Like United States? No. So the big show in the United States right now has been The Last Dance, which is about Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah,
the Bulls and stuff. So I forgot to do this. So this is weekly rundown, special edition, Elon Musk. Because we're going to talk about a little bit about Elon Musk. We have a couple of topics that we're going to go over. And as you can see on the screen, if I edited this correctly. And Elon Musk. So talking about voicing opinions and having the market react to it. He came out, was it Friday? And it was so funny because I made a video, I think Thursday, or actually I made it Wednesday. They reported earnings, I believe Tuesday. I recorded the next day, just some stuff I thought was interesting from their earnings. And then I uploaded the video. And then like 10 minutes later, he comes out on Twitter and starts tweeting. And he just says, Tesla stock price is too high, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Says that he's selling all possessions.
Yeah.
And a lot of people obviously were freaking out about it. It killed the stock price.
It fell like 12% at the lowest.
Yeah. Like I saw a lot of funny headlines saying Elon Musk downgrades Tesla. I think Wall Street Journal wrote an article at the headline, something saying like Elon Musk gets his wish, Tesla falls whatever percent, And full disclosure, we're not in the stock. I don't know if you're involved in the stock.
I'm not. No.
It's just been a fascinating case study to follow. We both love
very
markets,
fascinating.
So it's fun, And I guess if you're not involved, you could take just a little bit of an outside perspective on it. What are your thoughts on that?
I actually think that he isn't really. I think it's just a marketing technique, to be honest with you. I think it's just he's messing around with his Twitter followers. We all know he loves to do that. He loves to be the center of attention. He loves to be controversial. Like he smoked weed on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I think he said that he hadn't really done it before. He just did it because he felt like he wanted to do it. So I think he just thrives in the role as being the unconventional, weird CEO.
Yeah.
And you'll never hear about a CEO talking down their own stock. That just doesn't really make any sense. But he decided to do it because he's Elon Musk, in my opinion. And like, this is something that I've actually talked about with friends before, which is that I think that like every industry has a Donald Trump. Every industry has like a person who tweets a lot. They're kind of aggressive. They're very controversial. They have a lot of views. They're unconventional, and they're kind of successful at what they're doing. So when I came up, when I talked about that, I would say that, Trump is the Trump of politics, obviously. Kanye is the Trump of music, and Elon is the Trump of business. Yeah. And I also saw some tweets going around about that subject, that they kind of use the same marketing technique to get themselves to be the center of attention. They say something outrageous, something controversial, and you just can't look away. You have to comment on it. Yeah. So everyone starts talking about you.
Yeah, my opinion on it was, okay, so the whole Elon smoking weed with Joe Rogan type thing. Would I have done it? No.
Yeah.
Would I question somebody's judgment for doing that? Absolutely. Did I think it was that big of a deal? I don't know. I mean, okay. He's in California, whatever. Like, I don't know. Whatever. I'm not here to judge that. Okay. So take that out of it. Him faking out a 420 buyout.
That was just securities fraud. Yeah.
Insane. No, like
he was just lying. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, no, crazy. Don't do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Him tweeting.
Don't try that at home.
Yeah. Him tweeting that Tesla stock is too high. I don't think it's okay. I don't think it's okay. Now people were like, well, Buffett has talked about that he wouldn't buy Berkshire stock at this level. Yeah, but there's a little bit of a difference between the way that him and Charlie have said it and the way that Elon Musk, the guy with a history of kind of giving the middle finger to the SEC, did it, you know, and then he goes on like his Twitter craze and starts, you know, tweeting a lot of stuff. And again,
screaming like, free America now in caps lock. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, like I get it. I understand how people that are short, a lot of times they use it to feed their own fire. They're so emotionally invested, especially when capital's on the line. I mean, a lot of the shorts, they hate him. I mean, they absolutely hate him. And it's like,
they hate him.
If you ever disliked somebody, they could say, Andrew, your shirt looks really nice. And I'm going to like, be like, what? Like, screw, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just going to feed the fire, you know?
Yeah.
So I get that. There's a lot of like psychological tendencies there. But yeah, so I don't know, just going out on Twitter and saying that, you know, okay, what if, so they just raised a lot of cash, right? Yeah. They did an offering in February, and I believe they also raised debt. I get it that the markets are, they're different now, but I would just be like, dude, what the hell? Like you know? Yeah. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good.
And by the way, isn't he supposed to have a Twitter sitter? What happened to that? I mean, he had like a lawsuit up from the SEC a year and a half back, and you know, they ruled that he had to have a Twitter sitter, that there was a person that had to look over his tweets before he sent them. There's no way anyone looked at that tweet. There's no way anyone looked at that tweet. So I don't know if that's still the case, if he has to have that Twitter sitter, but if he does, then I mean, he just breached, you know, a settlement with the SEC. I'm not sure what the consequences of that's going to be, but yeah, that's essentially what he did.
And I hope Tesla's successful. So I'll say that. So don't hate me if anyone.
I mean, you know, Norway is the country in the world with the most Teslas per capita. We almost have as many Teslas as, you know, we have more Teslas than all of California, probably. So, you know, Norwegians love Elon Musk.
Yeah, I bet they do.
But, you know, there's also the possibility that, you know, this is not just Elon being Elon. Maybe they need capital, but they're unable to raise money from institutional investors in, you know, today's environment at what's the share price at? Like $750 per share or something like that. So maybe they need cash. I mean, I know this guy on Twitter. He's
Spiegel.
A journalist. Well, that guy too. But
he tweeted about that, so that's where we're going. Sorry.
Oh, really? Yeah. There's a lot of people talking about that. There's like a Financial Times journalist, Jamie Powell, who's written about that a bunch of times. That if you compare Tesla's cash balance with their interest income, there's going to be a gap between the reported cash balance and the implied cash balance from the interest income. So they may not have as much cash as people think. Maybe they need cash to get through this crisis. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's also David Einhorn, the hedge fund manager, is talking about elevated accounts receivables figures. You know, maybe he's trying to distract from that. I don't know.
Yeah. So they need cash. Maybe they went to raise capital, and the investment bank said, dude, you're crazy. Your stock's way too high. So he sends out a tweet and tries to kill the stock. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
In any case, it's creative. It's crazy.
It's creative. Yeah.
It's also market manipulation, but it's but I don't think the story is far from over. I mean, if anything, it's proven to me how hard short selling is, and how it's just it's not, in my opinion, it's not worth the brain damage that it gives you. I mean, you can be completely right. I mean, look at Bill Ackman with Herbalife.
Yeah.
The FTC literally came out and said Herbalife needs to start acting legitimately. Like, basically said they're a pyramid scheme. Yeah. So he was kind of right on the facts, but wrong on the outcome, that they were going to shut down this business. The stock was going to go to zero, and he was going to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
So,
I also, one thing I never understood about that Herbalife short was that they were profitable, right? They made a lot of money. So his only catalyst for the stock going to zero or halving or whatever was that the regulators would come in and basically close the shop.
Yeah.
Which to me sounds like a very out there investment approach to something. And I feel like a lot of short sellers, when you talk about shorting, they always say never short on valuation. Yeah. You need to always make sure that it's a blatant fraud. They're not really making any money. There's a relatively near-term catalyst. And I'm not really sure if you can really say any of that about Tesla. I mean, sure, they don't make any money. They may be like structurally unprofitable, but I'm not sure if it's, you know, an outright fraud. I mean, they sure have a product, and you know, they have a cultish customer base that just loves the product.
Yeah.
And you know, it's obviously overvalued, but as the short sellers have said, that's never a good enough reason to short a stock. So I don't know.
And the whole funny thing is too, I saw someone come on Twitter who's a well-known bull, not throwing shade. I'm just saying he's a very well-known bull. He's an investment advisor in California. You probably know who he is.
What's his name?
Ross Gerber.
Ross Gerber, yeah.
And he came out and said, you know, he's having a baby on Monday. His company is, you know, at a standstill. He basically was like, you guys know he's like this stress. You know? Like, okay. What, I mean, if we're making excuses, I don't know. I mean, but you know, some of these figures, I guess I just don't think it's necessarily good for markets, in my opinion. But yeah, I hope.
What is?
I just don't think it's good for markets. Like, to be able to, you know, do that and go crazy on Twitter and, you know, push down your stock or whatever, you know, I mean, especially with someone that has a history of doing stuff like that. But again,
a history of literal securities fraud.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. All right. Next, retail. Let's talk about retail and oil bankruptcies. So obviously
oil bankruptcies.
Oil's been crazy.
Oil's been crazy. Yeah.
Retail obviously has been, you know, at a standstill, just like every other company. But I thought it was interesting because the price of oil went negative, and it's been incredibly volatile. And a lot of people that follow USO, that stock has been volatile. We'll probably start to see a lot more bankruptcies in the oil industry in general.
Yeah.
Chesapeake Energy, I believe, came out and they're filing bankruptcy. Diamond Offshore Drilling, I tweeted about that last week.
Oh, yeah.
Filing bankruptcy.
That's a big one.
A couple billion in debt, and they did like $9 million in cash flow last year. Just absolutely crazy.
And didn't Exxon cut dividends for the first time in, you know, decades?
Yeah, which is probably good, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to make any money this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll start to see bankruptcies in the oil industry in general. And I was talking to some people in the industry, and just from doing my own research, I think I made a video about it. Chevron, Exxon, those are probably the only companies that it could be good for them, because Chevron, for example, is pretty conservatively financed. They don't have a ton of debt, especially like relative to all other oil companies. They're just going to get taken out on a stretcher. So they'll be able to pick up pieces, I think. For retail, J. Crew, they announced that they were filing for bankruptcy. JCPenney is on the verge of bankruptcy.
Yeah. Macy's is collapsing.
Yeah, Macy's. It's craziness. You know,
the one thing about oil is that, you know, Steve Mnuchin and Donald Trump have said pretty clearly that they want to save oil. They want to save the oil companies. They want to save oil jobs. But wouldn't that just be a disaster for both the oil price and for the oil market, for the companies? Because you need to weed out all the companies that can't make any money. People that the companies are going to go bankrupt. But if you keep saving those companies, then you're just going to destroy the whole market.
Yeah.
And what's more is that we have like what I think the yearly demand for oil is about like 100 million barrels per day. I think this year we're going to have around 70 million barrels per day. So, and I think there's a supply surplus of around 50 million barrels per day. So we need to cut production, or the global oil industry needs to cut production in order to get the oil price down. And one way to make that happen, besides cutting oil production like OPEC is doing, and OPEC Plus in Russia is doing, and Norway did that last week, is for, you know, natural production cut-ins. I think that's what they call it, when just oil producers can't produce any more oil at the current prices, which will lead to a lower supply of oil in the market and rebalance the oil market. But if you go into the market and if you save those companies from collapsing or having production cut-ins, you're never gonna balance the oil market, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, there's a lot of people that think if we haven't had, low interest rates and essentially free money, that like the fracking industry wouldn't have been a thing, because sort of the, I guess, MO is raise a ton of money, go buy a bunch of stuff, issued more equity or issue debt, use the capital markets, and just continue to do it, then you're on this roller coaster or this treadmill and treadmill and treadmill. And it's tough. I mean, Buffett was talking about oil a little bit yesterday when he was talking about Occidental, and he didn't come out and say it, but my takeaway was he doesn't think the government should bail out oil companies. He kept saying, when you are investing in oil, you're speculating on the price of the price of oil, right? That's what you're betting on.
Long-term price of oil,
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. If I was looking to invest in the oil industry, which we're not, I would look for probably more well-capitalized businesses that will be able to take advantage of these companies that are going to go bankrupt. I'm sure we'll continue to see companies going bankrupt. So yeah, I think it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, there are some rig companies in Norway that are super cheap if the rig market comes back to the way it was like just last year. And if the rig market ever goes back to where it was before the oil crisis of like 2014, you have some no-brainers in the Norwegian stock exchange. But the question is, when will the rig market go back to normal, or will it ever go back to normal, at least in the North Sea? But it's a very difficult, it's difficult to invest in the oil market, especially right now.
Yeah, for sure. Next big thing, Berkshire meeting. You watched it last night. I watched it yesterday. Yeah, Warren Buffett had a great monologue. It was very long.
Great monologue.
We're missing
basically
Charlie
just
Munger.
Talked about, we missed Charlie Munger, which was, maybe the only positive surprise of last night's meeting was the fact that Charlie Munger is indeed fine. I thought at first that he was exhausted or something, that he didn't have the stamina or the energy to go through those questions, but it turns out he's just chilling in California.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably better there, honestly, but it was I thought it was I think the questions asked were probably the best questions they've been in a very long time, because it was all investment focused. You didn't get a lot of
That's true.
You didn't get a lot of like, what should I tell my kid to do, and like the fatherly advice, which is good advice to give. Buffett obviously loves to give it.
Yeah, I thought it was great to have Becky as that filter. Not only because we got good questions, but also because we didn't have the essays. Like in other Berkshire meetings, we have like people that come up to the podium and they talk about themselves for like 2 minutes, and then, and what's your opinion on oil? But this time around, it was just Becky Quick asking the questions. Buffett answered. That's what we wanted to hear.
Yeah, Buffett's, it was awesome, and it was nice to hear. Awesome. It was nice to hear Greg talk as well. My biggest takeaway was what he said about airlines.
Oh yeah.
Sold everything, and
that was very
It made me think about Geoff in a way for a couple of reasons. In the meeting, he said, we don't ever trim, we don't pull back. It's really we buy and we sell, and when we sell, it's when we realize that we made a bad mistake. And that's very much how Geoff is, right? It's kind of, we don't really trim positions. And there's been times when we have sold, and that's when we realize that we made a mistake. And he's just so quick about it and doesn't even, think twice about it. And Buffett sounds like he knew he made a mistake with airlines. Yeah. And he sold out of airlines. And he was talking about the future supply issues of airlines and how they have too many airplanes. And
and he also suggested that fewer people might fly in 3 or 4 years than they did last year, which is a very pessimistic thing to say, because I think most people think that the airline industry is going to normalize within maybe next year, maybe in 2022. But to say 3 to 4 years from now, that's very pessimistic in my opinion. But I probably agree. I think the coronavirus is going to change our daily lives, maybe forever, or at least for the next decade or so. Will
you get on an airplane?
Not this year.
No?
I think not this year. No. Well, I usually only travel in the summer to go to like Greece or Spain or something. And I'm not going to go anywhere this summer because of the coronavirus crisis. So I'll probably not fly before the summer of 21, I think. What about you?
I think I will. Yeah, once everything gets back to normal. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. When do you think you'll get on the airplane?
I don't know. Prices are kind of back to normal. At one point during the virus, I was thinking, wow, it's $45 to fly to Chicago, which is where my family's from.
Yeah.
And I was like, no one's flying. They've been sanitizing a lot. The risks are out there. I could wear a mask, but I didn't, because obviously I don't want to affect people around me.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I feel like Americans might take the lockdowns less seriously than in Europe. That's at least my impression from seeing
we're idiots. Yeah.
pictures. Yeah, that's how it is. And
Yeah, but
what do you think about Buffett's monologue? Because he talked about the United States and the history of the U.S. and he talked about the Depression. He talked about how despite major blows to the economy, you should never bet against America. But then he kind of turned bearish. Like, do you think he means that we're going to have some sort of a depression, but don't worry, the stock market is going to be higher 50 years from now? Or did you take it like, just buy whatever you see, it's all good? What do you think?
Yeah, my thoughts on that it was kind of typical Buffett, right? Like earlier I said, my impression was he doesn't think the government should buy out oil businesses, but he didn't directly say that. And with his monologue, I felt like it was his way of he was being very calculated in what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get the impression that he is bullish at all.
Yeah.
Know that because he hasn't even laid out any capital. He probably sold, I imagine, more on this bounce that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he thinks necessarily we're going to have a depression. He did say depression a lot. He did talk about depression a lot.
Yeah.
I don't.
That's a common theme in his talks, I guess. So it
I
doesn't have
don't
to mean anything.
No, but I'm agreeing with you though. Like, I don't think he's bullish on America.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, never bet against America long term, sure, over the next 50 years, 20 years, 30 years. But in the short term, I think he knows that they're going to get another opportunity to lay out more capital.
Yeah. I mean, he clearly said that with the current situation and with the current valuations that we're at, Berkshire cannot find anything attractive to buy. And he also said that it's partially because the Fed acted so fast and so, one can say successfully, in order to prop up the stock market and prop up companies and corporate bonds, etc., so that they didn't really have any time to buy any bargains.
Yeah. And who's going to them, right? He said not a lot of people have been calling them for deals.
Yeah.
Especially if the government is doing deals with people,
Exactly.
I mean, it was good to see that they didn't have any pandemic risk. If I was a shareholder, I would be very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
They didn't have any tail risk from that.
Yeah.
But I didn't think, I didn't get the impression that he was totally bullish. And of course, he doesn't really think of things on a macro level when it comes to investing. So, but look, on the podcast, Geoff has asked me when we've talked about this, he's like, at one point we were back to 2018 levels. He's like, and what was my view on the market when we were at 2018 levels is that things were expensive, Yeah.
So, exactly. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I thought it was a good meeting. I really liked getting or hearing questions from him. He's an incredible speaker. He just kept going.
Yeah. I mean, he's turning 90 in like 4 months and he talked for 4 months straight. That's insane.
Yeah.
I really hope I can do that when I'm like 90 or 100.
So we'll see what happens.
That's my goal. Yeah.
All right. So it's 3:00 right. Almost 3:00 right now in Dallas. It'll be interesting to see where the futures open up. I don't know. I bet you the futures will open up down. Airlines are slaughtered. They're done. They're going to get
Give
smoked.
Me 1 second. There's this, have you heard of the week in Dow Jones?
Yeah.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit, but it's down 0.16%. Looks like we're crashing.
0.16?
Yeah.
Nice. We're done.
We're done. That's it. The short one.
It'll be interesting. Airlines are going to get smoked, though, I would think.
Yeah. But, I also thought it was interesting that he didn't buy back any shares, though. Because one thing is to not find any bargains in the stock market, but he himself said that he didn't think that Berkshire stock was cheap enough to buy back shares. So I don't know. Before I watched the interview and before I finished reading the 10Q, I thought about the possibility and tweeted out the possibility of Berkshire keeping like a cash pile as a financial buffer for the future. Like, what if Berkshire needs to give cash to all their businesses? What if they have some pandemic exposure? What if they really need the cash to get through the crisis and help the businesses that they own? But based on what he said, it doesn't seem like that was the case. I don't think he's hoarding anything. It just seems like he really didn't find anything to spend his cash on.
Yeah. Sorry, my camera turned off.
Oh, really? Okay.
So next topic. This was you. I don't know where this comes from. Cars being parked in the ocean. What's that all about?
And that was it. That's all there is to it. It's just sparks in the ocean.
They're just cars being parked in the ocean?
No, I saw an interesting article about that on Bloomberg and in a financial newspaper here in Norway, that auto tankers are carrying cars to ports across the world are being told to stay out at the sea because there is no demand for cars. Like, here's an example. There was a cargo of like 4,000 SUVs that had to stay for about 1 mile away from the port of Los Angeles because there's no demand for cars. There's been some sort of an auto sales collapse. And here in the Norwegian newspaper, there was an interview with the CEO of Wallenius Wilhelmsen, which is a Norwegian auto shipping company. And they basically said that this is different from anything we've ever seen before. Everyone is full. Nobody wants to take our cars, and people aren't really accepting them. So, and in the US, April is set to be like the worst month ever for auto sales. So I think that's a very interesting sign of the times that we're in. People are not really buying any cars, or dealers can't sell them. And you own a British auto dealership, right?
Vertu Motors.
Vertu Motors. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever, what do you think about Vertu Motors with the perspective of the crisis that we're in?
Well, it's, clearly they're going to have trouble selling cars, right? They own auto dealerships. They're going to have trouble selling cars in this environment. They shut down their dealerships for a little bit. Robert Forster is the CEO, fantastic CEO. Geoff and I really like him. Yeah. And he gave his perspective on the pandemic from, his view on things. And, he said it was a milestone when, at the time when he recorded this, they sold a car last week.
Wow.
One car.
Exactly.
But I mean, the company itself, they don't have debt. They have a lot of cash. They're very conservatively financed. They'll do better than other car companies. I think it's trading at 4 times earnings now, maybe 3 times.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it. I was just about to ask you 4.4 times earnings.
They'll be fine, assuming everything goes back to normal. A lot of the companies that we invest in don't have a lot of debt. They don't have a lot of leverage, which is great. And I think people will start to think of leverage differently going forward. Yeah. I'll certainly think of risk differently going forward. And even though this was you could call it a, once in a lifetime, once in 100 years, probably potentially type of event, I still think that sort of these black swan events happen a lot more frequently than people like to think. Not saying we're going to have another, pandemic that's going to stop the global economy, but Vertu Motors, for example, they don't have debt. They have a lot of cash. They have a great management. So we feel, comfortable with it. And look, when we bought it, I don't know what it was trading at, maybe 6 or 7 times earnings, not even, so it's incredibly cheap. And even with it at 4 times earnings, and actually we ended up buying more last week.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And you don't
see like any risk of like a liquidity squeeze, or like some sort of way where they might, they can't repay their loans or whatever?
I mean, not for them, right? Now, if the global economy is still in the shithole, for the next 3 years, any company is going to be affected. But certainly Vertu will be able to hang on a lot longer than other companies will be able to. And like I said, we bought more last week, which is the first capital that we've outlaid during this whole pandemic in general.
Wow. Yeah.
And, and we didn't even buy a lot. We really just kind of raised the percentages back to a certain level in the managed accounts, which was really, I guess you can think about like a rebalance, even though we don't think about things like that. Yeah. But no, we feel comfortable with Vertu, at least, long-term, and they'll be fine. Like I said, no debt, tons of cash, good management team. And we'll see what happens.
What's the name of that competitor of Vertu Motors? Beginning on C? Cambria. Yeah,
a lot of people own that.
Yeah, Cambria was the higher quality one, like
they grow faster, I believe. I think their turns are better. Jeff's more familiar with it than I am, but there's a lot of people on corner Berkshire and stuff that like Cambria more than Vertu. But Geoff, when he doesn't need the opinion of other people.
No, if I feel like he's kind of if someone tells him one thing, he'll want to say another thing.
He's very. What's impressive about Geoff is he doesn't follow the crowd. He's not swayed by other people. If he believes in something and he's done the work, he's okay to have his own opinion on it. There's so many times where people will come to Geoff with their own opinion on a stock, and Geoff will give his feedback to them, and he just pulls something that's completely out of left field. And then it always seems so obvious, you know? So he's just, he's good at doing that.
Yeah. As you know, I've been Skyping a lot with him about, you know, many stocks, and he always asks the best questions that I often never see him coming. I'm like, oh wow, yeah, of course, I should have thought of that. He says something to me. Yeah. He's
smart
good, man.
We don't need to. He's probably smiling listening to this. We can move on to the next topic. All right, last topic of the day. This is my favorite one. Kim Jong-Un is alive.
Wow. Yeah, that really surprised me. Surprised me.
Have you seen the movie The Interview with Seth Rogen and James
some
Franco?
Clips. Man. I've seen some clips. I have never seen it.
So it's a funny movie. It's a satire. It's comedy, right? And
I know.
In the movie, they're like portraying Kim just to be like this, in my opinion, this little kid that's just like the leader of this regime that has the ability to do whatever he wants. I mean, at one point, they're literally in a tank just like blowing stuff up, like having fun and just doing it for the sake of doing it. But I'm like, I feel like this is Kim's real life. And so
did you hear what he was doing? He was like holed up with like 2,000 women somewhere with a pleasure squad.
Yes.
Like what the hell?
Yeah.
That's insane.
I mean, you know, it's funny, and I wanted to tweet out. So when let me pull up something. When this all started coming out that he was allegedly dead, I thought about tweeting something along the lines of, it wouldn't surprise me if in like 2 weeks, or if they report he's dead, and then 2 weeks later he magically reappears in life. So then they can tell their people, the North Koreans, that, you know, God sent him back down because he's some like mystical figure. I mean, have you heard about what the perception of him is?
Oh yeah, like
North Koreans? Like he doesn't defecate supposedly. The first time that he golfed, he broke like the record with like 5 hole-in-ones in a row.
Yeah, and allegedly North Korea are like world champions in soccer or football, as I call it.
Yeah. Let's see what else. They said Kim could drive by the age of 3.
Is this true? Is this what they're teaching people?
This is literally what they think.
Oh my
North
God.
Koreans, they think this.
Yeah.
It says that his dad invented hamburgers.
Oh yeah. Well, that's true.
This one's funny. Everyone in North Korea voted for Kim. Literally everybody. Not one person did not vote for him.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they?
He wrote 1,500 books when he was at college. And he went to college in Switzerland, I think.
He in Switzerland with our crown prince, with the crown prince of Norway.
Really?
Yeah, they went to the same. Yeah, they went to the same college, which I think is cool. And he actually knew Kim Jong-Un a little bit because they were both, you know, sort of supreme leaders. So I think they came to talking. I think that's a lot of fun that our coming king knows Kim Jong-Un. Yeah,
that is funny. Yeah, so it's wild, but I mean, look, I didn't think he was dead. I guess it's good to see that he's alive.
Is it?
Surprised me. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of disappointed because I had first of all, I'm kind of the first person. It was all over my Twitter feed before even the mainstream media started talking about it, so I could tell people like, you know, Kim Jong-Un is dead, and I would blow people's minds. So I was kind of disappointed, you know, in that sense, and also. I feel like it would be a nice shift of pace if we got a female dictator for once. Like I think that would be a step forward for diversity in the world.
For sure. What's the perception of Kim Jong-Un in Norway?
The same as, you know, anywhere.
He's just insane. Psychopath.
He's a ruthless dictator.
Yeah, it's weird. So
but I kind of wonder was he just holed up in that pleasure squad this whole time, or what was the deal with the Chinese sending medical experts?
I have no idea, man. All I heard was that he was held up with a bunch of women and bunkered away
living
or something.
His best life. Yeah. Crazy. I have a lot of questions, but I guess they'll remain unanswered.
I know, right? Insane. Cool, man. Well, that is it for the weekly rundown. We are going to do this once a week. We'll just talk about main topics. We'll do some fun stuff, also some investing stuff. So if anyone has any sort of suggestions or anything, definitely leave a comment down below. Vetla, give us your Twitter so everybody following are listening along can follow you on Twitter. Vetla is a great person to follow on Twitter.
Thanks. Yeah. Vetla Forsland. That's VETLEFORSLAND at Vetla Forsland.
That's right.
Give me a follow if you want to. You don't have to.
Follow him. And I'll put that down in the show notes. So I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in with Vetla and me today. And the both of us will see you next week. Take care.